Hamjambo nyote. Many people have asked me to talk about the death of General Ogolla. I have deliberately failed to do so. I have deliberately actually refused to do so. For two main reasons. One, almost everything has been said. Two, and that's the most compelling reason, has been that when people have lost a loved one, they must be allowed time to mourn. But owing to pressure, allow me to say something about Ogolla. What I'm going to say may present the true picture, maybe the true story. And I'm sure those who have been mourning have healed. Indeed, sometimes it's good to say something about somebody when things are still hot. Shakespeare's Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, is about Hamlet, a prince who sets out to avenge the death of the king who was his father. And that his father was killed by his brother, uncle to Hamlet. What is striking about this tragedy is the fact that the new king, brother to the dead king, who is suspected of having murdered the king, marries Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, almost immediately after the death of the husband who was the king. So much for timing. I will say something about Ogolla, but I will not repeat what people have said. To ground what I'm about to say is a little story, a little encounter, some encounter. Early last year, in the grounds of a famous hotel in Eldoret town, a hotel within the Central Business District, CBD of Eldoret, famous for his open grounds, I was taking a bowl of uji when an old man joined me, a former school principal. He saw I was writing something, and I was writing about the banditry that the government was now addressing in the North Rift. But of relevance to this story today is another young man also joined us, a former GSU officer. I was interested in finding why a young man like him had left the police. And he said he didn't leave, he was sacked. He tried to go back, he didn't go back. The story of his sacking, as I will tell later, grounds what I'm about to say today. So yes, like everybody else, I have many questions. But unlike most people, and like I've said in many interviews, death of prominent people, normally referred to as assassinations, are never easy to resolve. Indeed, few, both within this country and international and outside this country, have ever been resolved. That the closest you get to the murder of Tom Mboya is the person who pulled that thing to kill him, Nation Isaac Njenga Njoroge. But the man behind Isaac Njenga Njoroge, people will always think it was Kenyatta. Perhaps it was not Kenyatta. I doubt it was Kenyatta. So these are not easy things. So as people say, they don't understand what happened They ask many questions. Mheshimiwa Babu Wino raised 11 pertinent questions. And he said he will be at peace with the death of Ogolla once those 11 pertinent questions were asked, were answered. I say no more. I don't want to add the 12th question. These are questions that many people are wrestling with. But without doubting what people are saying, without also adding anything to what they have said, I am going to look at the two reasons that I think are compelling when it comes to finding out what killed General Ogolla. The first one is banditry. We have denied the seriousness of banditry. Indeed, during the 2022 campaign, it's on record. The president said there was nothing like banditry, not in the manner in which people are saying. Rather, it was something manufactured to put him in bad light with his Kalenjin community, that he cannot help them. We forgive him because that is politics, and that is natural to politicians. He was then a candidate. Today he's a president. Candidates say all manner of things. That aside, I was doing this article about banditry, which appeared in Nairobi Review, a news website. And I said, in summary, that the government was approaching banditry in the wrong way. I gave many examples that we live in a world today where the gun is no longer the solution. When you have a challenge such as banditry that is disruptive, you need to approach it in a much more serious way than the government was doing and has ever done in this country. I raised issues. You cannot say send the military or the police to solve a problem which could be created by big people in society. I even asked simple questions. How can somebody move 3,000 heads of cattle in those dusty zones without being noticed? I raised other questions, including, for example, where do these animals go when they have been stolen? Can an ordinary cattle rustler get market for such a huge stocks of animals? The answer is no. I raise issues of culture. Do we understand the culture of the people? But that's not my concern today. Today, I'm pointing out the issue of banditry because we played it down. We even denied it. Yet it has disrupted lives. Schools have been closed. People have been killed, including an unsighted teacher recently. But look where it has brought us. Banditry that we play down, that we approach cheaply, has brought down a 4-star general, the head of the military. We are lucky as a country, given the nature of the tribal ecosystem of this country. We are lucky that we have gotten out of this thing unscratched. We thank God for that. We applaud our leaders, Raila Odinga, William Ruto. We say kudos to the people, especially those communities that are most affected by this death. But look at what it has done to us. So number one reason why the general is no more and why this country could have been plunged into chaos and anarchy is because government has failed to approach banditry with the seriousness it deserves. So if you're looking for why Ogolla died, look for why we have been unable to solve the issue of banditry in this country. Ask yourself, how come in the 21st century we cannot do that? We boasted, announced the whole world, captured military equipment being moved to the North Rift and say these guys are going to face fire. Instead of them facing fire, the country is being almost thrown into anarchy. Somebody's son is dropped down. Somebody's father. A son of the community, a son of a community, a prominent son is no more. Just because we have approached banditry as if we are approaching an unruly group of schoolboys and girls. We must be clear about this, that it is a clear indictment on the government. Even as we join the men in uniform in mourning their four-star general, we must remind them it's an indictment on them. That you cannot allow something which can be managed to get to the proportions it's gotten, to the point of some rough guys, some riffraffs, to cause the death of a four-star general. I hope and I pray that those in charge in this country, right from the president to the men in uniform, to the intelligence, to the interior ministry, I urge Kindiki to stop bragging and saying they will face fire. I urge those involved, those in charge of this country, of the security of this country, to engage. The second reason why Ogolla is dead, and the main thing I want to address today, it is a culture of fear and subservience in this country. This country is a poor, dirty third world country, and we are likely to remain so because of the culture of fear and subserviency. A culture where those serving under their superiors never tell them the truth. They never advise them. A culture where men, grown-up men, almost wet, if not soil their pants, when a fellow man is passing around them. I have seen school teachers, educated graduates, trembling and shaking because the principal is entering the compound. This is what is killing this country. And this is part of why we have lost a four-star general. Back to my story at that hotel in Eldoret. The young man told me this. They were somewhere, I don't know, an outpost. When you move from area to area in these banditry-prone areas, there was a police post, whatever it was called, a formation, headed by an OCS, something like that. This young man, very obedient, well-trained soldier, and this is a true story, was asked by this OCS, it happened to be a woman, and I'm not saying because it's a woman, she got into the habit of sending police officers under her to do all manner of things, completely outside the duties of a police officer. It got worse for this particular young man when this OCS sent him to go and remove cloth from the hanging line or drying lines. And I think the guy said, I've had enough. And he told the officer, Afande, I don't think that's part of my duty. He lost his job, but left the force with his head high. Where am I heading? We have fake certificates, fake fertilizers, We can't handle the doctor strike. We have mess in the education sector. Because the men who should advise the president don't do so. Men and women sitting in cabinet, even when they know there's something wrong, they cannot advise the president. You owe it to your office, you owe it to your integrity and your person, you owe it to the people of this country and to your office to advise the President of the Republic of Kenya. When you turn into a yes man or a yes woman, you are doing great disservice to this country, to your motherland. When you are a member of parliament, you go on the ground and you know people are against the housing levy, but you pass it because the president has told you. You are failing your country. You are failing your constituency. You are failing yourself. And the future will not be a good future for your granddaughter, because today you have failed to advise the president by telling him the truth. When you pass the finance bill, because you are UDMP, knowing very well it's going to hurt Kenyans, it's going to stagnate the economy. When you know businesses are closing, Kenyans are hurting. Kenyans are watching loved ones die because of a broken healthcare system. People die in the homes. When you know children cannot go to school because parents are so poor, and you cannot advise government, you cannot play your role as an MP, you are destroying the future of your children. Now, what has all this got to do with Ogolla? May God rest his soul in eternal peace. God gives and God takes. When a 4-star general dies in the course of inspecting construction and repair of classrooms, imagine a 4-star general landing in a chopper to see fundi anagonga nga anatengeneza classroom. The 4-star general, chief of the defense forces, CDF, following the constitution and his training and professionalism, must obey the commander-in-chief. So when the president tells the CDF to go and make sure things are going well in the banditry area in North Rift, the CDF must obey his commander-in-chief. How do you obey the commander-in-chief? You obey the commander-in-chief by ensuring the wishes of the president with the commander-in-chief are fulfilled. One, by ensuring that those schools that are being built or rehabilitated, that have been destroyed by bandits, or they are being constructed as a way of mitigating the suffering and the challenges in the region, you make sure if the engineering battalion is part of it, it is doing their work well. That is obeying the commander-in-chief. If the troops there perhaps have been complaining, or you just want to make sure they are doing well, you ensure as the CDF, the soldiers in that area are doing their work well and they are being taken care of. But you don't do that by going there yourself. You just say, yes, sir, I'll do it. And you go on the ground, you call the head of engineering battalion. You call the man in charge of the forces on the ground and tell them this must be done in this manner within this period. Priority for commander-in-chief. These are my orders. These are my instructions, but priority for the commander-in-chief. And therefore that which would have taken 3 weeks should take 1 week. Tell me the resources you require. After 30 days, you go back to the commander-in-chief. Sir, I have done what you wanted me to do. The soldiers are working well. I've taken care of their welfare. And the classrooms are almost complete. Thank you, sir. You will have advised your commander-in-chief. You will have done what you ought to do without fear. And therefore, my argument today is, if the CDF didn't obey the order or a command in the manner he did, he would be alive. He would be alive right now. The man will be there. Unless other things. The commander-in-chief asks you to do something, it must be done without question. But you must also advise the commander-in-chief through action. Should he ask you why you didn't go, you should have the professional courage to tell him, sir, I cannot go on the ground because there are complications. One, the military are only assisting the police. Command is a police command. The military in situations like those are giving logistical support. Personnel maybe, training, equipment. But the command remains the police command. We saw what happens at Westgate when there was a terror attack. The challenges of command complicated the situation, leading to unnecessary death, including that of the REC squad, some of the REC squad. The military can only take over command in situations of extreme tragedies. The stages of disaster management tell us clearly that the military only come in at command level when everything at the civil levels has failed. Which is what we saw in Italy, Brazil, during the corona. Then you surrender to the military because the disaster has reached a stage where ordinary police and other government forces, the officers cannot handle the situation. Because beyond that, you leave it to God. So until such a time that the military have taken over, it remains a police issue, a police command issue. And the military is only lending a hand. For that reason, and using this example and this death, I urge fellow Kenyans, those of you in employment, advise your seniors and give your senior the correct advice. Handle the situation professionally without looking at what your senior will say, so long as you are doing something that is professional and professionally sound. There are many officers I've talked to in the police and elsewhere who feel so sad that their seniors are standing in their way of duty because their seniors are following command from elsewhere. And therefore, if the death of Ogolla will serve anything, let it serve to tell us, henceforth, subservience and fear does not help you. It does not help your country. You owe it to your profession. You owe it to your person and integrity. You owe it to the people of this country to give the best professional advice to your seniors. Whether you are a school teacher, a deputy, a teacher, whether you are a junior person somewhere. I have seen where I work at the university, something goes wrong and professors are all blaming one individual, the vice chancellor. I ask them how? How? How can things go so wrong? All you men and women, so well educated. How? How do you wait until things are so bad? How did the people of my county in Vihiga let the district commissioner then destroy Maragoli forest? You can only see rocks, which was not just environmentally bad, but that forest is spiritual to the people. It's about spirituality of the Maragoli people. There were people in Vihiga who were cabinet ministers. Where were they when DC was destroying a people's spirituality, destroying the environment? Where were members of parliament? Where were the councillors then? I must end this by saying this. From where you work, from your position, advise your seniors without fear. They will thank you later. Let Ogolla rest in peace. And let us draw lessons from this death, that you are not helping anybody. Not yourself, not your profession, not your country. If you do not tell your superiors the truth, and if you do not give them professional advice. If you are a cabinet minister, and you know very well the doctors are being mistreated, and you don't have the courage to tell the president, pack and leave that ministry. I hope in the future we will take back our country, reclaim it by being bold and by giving sound advice to those who we work under.